Hello and welcome to Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, the premier flagship and international podcast of LRM Online. I'm your host, Brandon Jones, and it's just two of us. It's two of the lads here talking about Destiny. I feel like we were destined to be here, just you and I, having this conversation, Danny. Is that how you feel?
Oh, I like what you did. I like what you did there, Jonesy. Yes, the dynamic duo of Destiny. The destined duo. Coming up with band names now.
Wait, so which of us is short round?
We don't have one. We're doing it without the child.
Okay, we're doing it
without the child.
No children.
Don't go into spoilers.
A childless marriage. Childless marriage.
Don't go into the parts of the movie I don't like.
Oh, this will be good. This will be good. All right. So, as you can tell, we're going to be having a conversation about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Plus, we've got some news. We're going to have a conversation about the recently announced Superman casting, and then we're going to let you all go on about your 4th of July weekend. Housekeeping. I have to apologize. I'm sorry we missed last week. I was intending to announce that we were going to be on vacation for that past week, and I dropped the ball. So blame me. I'm sorry. Get on Discord, yell at me, do whatever you want to do. But we're going to move on, and we're going to have a conversation about Indiana Jones. This film, actually, you know what? I forgot to check. When I started my research for this film had a 65% from the critics, and it did not have an audience score. But I did substitute the audience score with the blistering 4 out of 10 from IGN, which, while I don't think I'm this film's biggest fan for, just, I don't know what a movie has to do to get like The Matrix Resurrections. That's probably a 4 out of 10 to me. I don't think this is a 4. But anyway,
that's not 4.
Yeah. We're going to get into it. We're going to start with our, as always, non-spoiler impressions. So, Danny, if you could please hit me with your toot.
I'm going to hit you with my toot. So, it is with a huge sigh of relief that I can say I thoroughly enjoyed this film. It's not film number 4 that I think Indiana Jones deserved, but it is a much better movie than the one we did get. I still feel that Last Crusade should have been it. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. And like I said, a huge sigh of relief.
Okay. What's your letter grade?
B.
B.
Straight
B. Straight B. All right. So my toot, Harrison Ford brings his all in what is most likely his most character-driven portrayal of Indiana Jones in his most iconic role. More so than Crystal Skulls. As I watched his performance, I felt like he was more world weary and just dealing with the ramifications of his life. So I felt like he shined in this film, and the story itself, take it or leave it. Like, I wasn't particularly impressed with it.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I gave it such a high score, is because Harrison himself, for majority of the film, actually looked like he was fully invested with what he was doing, what the role was, and was given some. I'm going to put a lot of the praise onto James Mangold for this, for letting him actually flesh out the character of Indiana Jones a little bit, and actually give him some room to grow and to show that he, the years that, I should say the mileage has taken his toll on him, and not just the years, right? Because that's exactly how it would be, and so I'm pleased about that. And like I said, it looked like Harrison gave a shit during this, and that amplified how good the movie was for me. I think that's what pushes it up, up into that B grade for me. The way Harrison Ford was able to portray and have some growth with Indiana, and that was good.
So this is probably going to be, I would probably be able to count on one hand the number of times that it happened to me on the show. I'm going to go with a C+. But I'm willing to have my mind changed, which is very abnormal for this. So let's jump into spoilers. You ready?
Straight into spoilers? Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Good.
So I'm going to start at the end. And because you and I had a discussion on Discord about, how this film is. And almost. We almost had a discussion. We almost had a discussion. We bit our tongue a little bit. You had more discipline than me. You were like, hold on, I'm not going to do the thing. You're not going to have the show. So for me, the way this film ends is with Helena, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, deciding for Indiana Jones that he's not going to be able to stay in 200 plus BC in Italy, that he's going to come back to present day. Where's Hunter College? Is that New York? I feel like it's New York. He's going to come
I
back to
assume
present day New York.
Yellow caps and shit. That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
And that bothered me because what I was really thinking of was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and what a powerful scene it was to have Sean Connery as his father try to convince him to do the right thing. And he's like, Henry, can't get to him, Indiana. And that snapped him out of his desire for the Grail. And it was a powerful scene. Like, I think about that moment a lot. And so to go to this film and have him have his agency taken away and have Helena decide for him that he's going to come back to present day, I didn't like. And I felt like that is an analogy for this series generally, right? Where Kathleen Kennedy is like just dragging him out of where he's resting, right? And forcing him back to
another film
because they want to make another one. And I just, that really bothered me. It bothers me because I feel like this is such an iconic character. And there are all these jokes about Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, where had he not done anything, that would have ended exactly the same. And this is very different, right? Yep. This is very much about him making a choice to stay or go where he was. And I didn't like that they let her make that choice for him.
I gotcha. It was certainly jarring when she gave him that right hook. It was certainly oh shit, I was not expecting that. But here's how I felt about that last, not necessarily the last act, but the majority of the end of the film. It felt to me like that was the part of the movie that looked like and felt like it had gone through some rewrites where they weren't quite sure how they were going to end it. Where they came in at, no, that didn't sit well with a test audience or something like that. It all felt a little bit rushed together, including that last bit. So here's where I feel on that. He didn't earn that wanting to stay there enough for me, because all through the Last Crusade, especially the last part when they're actually in where the Grail is kept, wherever they've called that, I felt they were the whole movie was leading to some sort of redemption with him and his dad, right? In this movie, I didn't feel that he had that connection with Archimedes or anything. I just felt he was really freaking tired of the whole thing, and he'd just been shot again, right? So for me, it didn't really feel like he wants to stay there. He wanted to stay there. I've had enough. I've followed Archimedes all my life, which, by the way, just on a quick one, remind me later how they tricked us in the trailers, because at no point did he say, I've been searching this my entire life. That was just in the trailers, which I was pleased about, because we would have had some sort of hint of that in the previous 3 films. Now, just I keep mentioning 3 films. Yes, I do not count Crystal Skull. When I say 4th, I meant this was number 4. So for me, it wasn't that bad that they ended like that, because I do feel he had something to live for, and that was Marion. Now, what the challenge was is there wasn't enough of a possibly Marion's going to come back or anything towards the end. So the way that ending happened for me, I'm okay with her stopping him from wanting to stay there. I just don't think they earned him wanting to stay there as bad as he did, because I'm with you 100%. That bit in Last Crusade was brilliant, was awesome, and that should have stayed like that. But at the same time, I don't think they made the Marion returning impactful enough to change that ending either. So I do think the whole ending was a little bit meh, which was a shame for both reasons. I was willing to let them have him stay there, and for him to be the one wearing the watch in the sarcophagus and all that change. I was willing for that. I thought, you know what? Let him stay, but then show me him walking into the distance with Archimedes, chatting and talking shit. I was happy to have that, don't get me wrong. So I don't think they did it very well, but I'm also okay with that. He went home. He's got Salah's family that he's friends with. Marion's back in his life. He can actually be at home with his friends and family. So I'm okay with it. I see where you're coming from. I don't disagree.
It just feels like
it's settled to be okay.
It feels like for no matter what ending we got of what we saw, they didn't do enough work to earn it.
Yep.
So with what we got, they didn't do enough work to earn this, what we saw.
Ending. Either ending. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
So,
100%.
That's my frustration.
Yep.
And that's
frustration
hard. And so
because
me.
Go on. No, carry on, buddy. Go on.
Well, I was going to say, because
no,
you know me, and if Jammer was here, he would say, like, endings matter to me. And especially knowing that we're more than likely not going to get another Indiana Jones film, that makes it bother me that much more.
Do you think then? Because I was thinking about that when I was reading your notes, and I got mine as well. That's almost where there was. I get the sense of the little bit of a panic at the end of this movie. Like, okay, we've had this story, which is it's okay, it's solid enough, it's fun enough, it's got great elements to it. Oh shit, we better nail the ending. What are we going to do? Let's have him stay. No shit, that didn't work. Let's have him back with Marion. Oh shit, that didn't work. I don't know what to do.
Song.
Let's have him grab a hat. Shit, does that work? No, because now we think there's going to be another one. No, we don't. Oh shit. It's almost like, oh shit, we don't know how to end it. I'm Stephen King all over again.
It's that song. Did you ever have the feeling that you wanted to go, still had the feeling that you wanted to stay? Right? It's that. And there needed to be somebody with the balls or fortitude to make that decision, which is spoilers for No Time to Die. That was a decision, right? They were like, this is it. And so I wish that someone had the same kind of like, no, this is it. Like, we're done. And I would have been much happier with it.
How about if Harrison himself had said that? Because I know in the interviews and stuff, he said that he's happy with how Indiana Jones has finished. But, I don't know how much of this is true, but in Force Awakens, it said, "I'll come and do it, but you got to kill Solo."
Yeah,
I'll do it. I'm okay with this, but you got to kill him. I'm glad he didn't say you've got to kill Indiana, but I would like to have said, but you got to end it. Like, this is it. Don't have me die, but at least make sure this is the end. And I don't know if, like you said, no one had the courage enough to do it, which was a shame. So we got a loose ending. We got too many. It was just a bit flimsy, right? And it needed a solid ending.
Yeah. Sure.
So carry on, buddy. Too much on the ending there.
Yeah, no, it was just frustrating. That's all I think I had to say about the end. Let's jump to the beginning. I was shocked that they killed Mutt. I was shocked.
Oh shit. Well, when you said beginning, I wasn't going to go there, but I knew he had died. I knew it. I knew that's how they were going to do it. When I saw his picture in the background, I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, no. Yeah. That's when I was shocked. Like, because I could tell seeing the picture and seeing the flag next to it, I was like, wait a minute. They give you that when at the funeral. I was like, oh my God, he's dead. And what was frustrating was, and I shouldn't have done this, I saw a review like weeks and weeks ago when Cannes got the premiere for this, and we started seeing like the early reviews. Somebody mentioned what was happening with him and Marion and Mutt, and then they made it sound like they didn't say what happened, like what was causing any of this. And I was going to be frustrated.
She wasn't watching.
I don't know.
But you know what? Do you know what on that, Jonesy? I'm happy about that. Sorry to interrupt your train of thought there, but I'm happy that, because when I saw the picture, I thought, is that all they're going to do? I'm not going to say, well, should I say happy he died? I mean, it was a good way of doing it without having him come in or potentially still be around or some shit, right? So it was a good decision. But what I was happy with later in the film was that Indy had a moment to talk about it. And that's when Harrison did a great job of articulating what happened between, what he would do if he went back in time. I'd tell my son not to enlist. Because then I'd tell him, because my son wouldn't enlist and my husband, my wife, my marriage would last. And that moment made me feel great. I'm glad that they showed the picture and that he's gone, but it gave them Harrison a chance to actually talk about that. It wasn't just a throwaway picture in the background. That's fuck Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. We're just going to pretend it didn't happen. I can do that, but I'm glad they addressed it in the movie. I thought that was a great moment when they did that. I'm sorry if that stopped you where you were going with that.
No. It's almost like they were able to take a thing that people didn't like and pivot and make it into something else. Like, that's a thing. It's crazy to me that Lucasfilm is able to do it in some places and not others.
Hey, Jammer, that's how you pivot. If you're going to pivot, Jammer, that's how you do it.
So I'm sorry, you're right. There is another beginning to this film, and it takes up, how long would you say that first opening?
I felt like it was about 20, 25 minutes, maybe even more.
Did it seem overly long to you?
Do you know what? I was even thinking that when but I had that thought just at the point when the train was coming to the bridge. It was almost like, okay, enough now. You've done the the James Bond action sequence at the beginning. You've done the Indiana Jones thing at the beginning. But I was almost put this in the reason why I had a big sigh of relief with this film, and I had this big sigh of relief in the first couple of minutes of the movie. Now, maybe you disagree, but I think they did such a really freaking amazing job with the de-aging of Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones. Some of the other characters they didn't, and I could see that maybe their time and effort was spent on Indy. But I honestly, Jonesy, I just seen your face, but it was so good or good enough for me that it made me sit back and go, okay, I'm going to enjoy this new Indiana Jones adventure from when he was a bit younger for the next however long it's going to be. And then it started to be quite good fun. And I'm like, you know what? It can't get worse. I'm going to enjoy this film. That's why I had a big sigh of relief, because I was a little worried that the whole movie was going to be flashback, present day, flashback, present day.
Oh, okay.
And it was going to be jarring. That based on the trailer, right? I thought that's how they were going to go, and the stories were going to merge together at some point. But I felt it was good enough for me to not take me out of the movie, unlike Princess Leia in Rogue One and all that kind of stuff, and Tarkin. Obviously, technology's come on in those 10 years since then. Yeah. But I think they did a good enough job, and that's why I had another big sigh of relief, because I enjoyed the young Indiana Jones adventure at the beginning of this movie. A touch close to being too long, but I think you and I agree that the movie itself was a little bit too long. Maybe it could have taken 20 minutes off it and been a little bit better, I think. Sorry, buddy. I rambled.
No. I think this movie could have been easily a half hour shorter. Generally speaking, Indiana Jones movies are about 2 hours. But as it goes to the de-aging, there were moments where I was like, this is really good. And there were moments where it was distracting me, not because it was so good, but because there were issues with it. And it actually made me think, I don't know if you saw this in my notes. I was like, I wish they River Phoenix this. So just find a younger individual to play that scene or some scene, write it so that you could just have a younger actor portray this version of him. And that for me would have been a much better narrative vehicle and less distracting. Because again, I think for me, just like The Last Crusade it is so rare for, people will probably disagree with this. To me, The Last Crusade is the best film in there. And I know people have the films that they like. A lot of people will say Raiders is the best one. I love The Last Crusade. And that whole opening sequence with River Phoenix is fantastic. And it does a lot to show you who he is as a character and all of this other stuff, like why he has this relationship with his father, why he's afraid of snakes, where he got the scar from. It is a better version of what they were trying to do in Solo, which is very funny. So in watching this, I started thinking, like, just do that again. And then you won't have to deal with this weird de-aging stuff. And so
I get that, but I was looking at it from, it was giving Harrison himself a last hurrah that wasn't necessarily
here's the other thing that made me feel about that. Because it put me of two minds. One, it made me wish that they had River Phoenix this. Two, it made me think they've really wasted his best years. It is very frustrating to me. When did The Last Crusade come out? Like 85, 86? No.
Yeah.
And maybe it is amazing to me that they waited that long to start trying to make these again. Like even looking at him in Crystal Skull, like he looks
1989,
infinitely better.
89, buddy.
So
I put that down to Harrison himself, though, not necessarily wanting to revisit the character. I mean, back then we didn't have so much internet and news, and we weren't on these sites, and so I'm pretty sure at the time it was him just not wanting to do that character again. I mean, he didn't really want to play Han Solo. Rumor has it in Empire or Jedi, right? It was all contractually obliged and things like that. So I don't know. Maybe it was more to Harrison himself, and then he felt like later on that there was something in it. I don't know. But I think for me, it was good enough, and I'm glad they did it the way they did it. Could they have done a River Phoenix and changed the story just a little bit to have the Dial of Destiny in his younger days? For sure. But I think a character that, again, going young and it not being River Phoenix again, I don't know. Maybe that would have made it more jarring. It's like, who's this? This isn't young Indiana Jones. Young Indiana Jones is River Phoenix. Yeah. So I don't know. But I liked it. It was enough for me to be invested in the movie. That's all I'll say on that one.
Okay.
I was happy with that. Yeah.
All right.
What were the? Did you notice, by the way, on the train scene when the commandant sits down on the desk? Did you notice the picture of Marion on the desk?
No.
So the commandant sits on his desk on the train very early on after they've got on the train after the castle scene, and he sits at the desk. And I can't remember who he's talking to. I think he's just talking to. I don't think he's talking to the other doctor yet, Indy's friend. I think he's talking to one of his underlings about something. And on the desk is an open file, and on the file is a picture of Marion.
What do you think that means?
I don't know. That's why I was going to ask you if you noticed it, because I'm like, well, hold on. That obviously it was set after Last Crusade, because so in my head canon it was set towards the end of the war, right? So obviously Last Crusade has happened, and so Marion wasn't on the scene, but why would he have a picture of Marion back then in 1940, whatever it was, So it was interesting to me that was Marion. So anyone listening that's just watched the film or hasn't watched it yet, keep an eye out for that. Confirm that it was Marion that I saw on the file on the commandant's desk on the train. Because right at the end of the movie, I'm like, so why was that picture on his desk then? How does he know?
The only thing that I could think is based on what happened in Raiders, she's a known quantity to the Nazis. That would be my best guess without more information.
Because of the connector to Ravenwood, because he was looking for the Ark and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe they'd found a file on Dr. Jones, because I can't remember in the movie whether or not they'd realized who he was, the spy they had captured. I don't think they had at this point. No, they hadn't, right? So it's not like they would have suddenly got a file. And how are they going to do it? Fucking fax it from somewhere back then? That would have made no sense, which is why my head was spinning around with that. Anyway, what were you going to ask, buddy? That was just something that happened on the train.
So what did you think? So jumping out of the train sequence and the de-aging, let's move forward to present day, and we meet Phoebe Waller-Bridge's Helena. What did you think of her?
Well, I'll say this. I enjoyed her portrayal of the character. I thought that was a lot of fun. I liked the way that she was a little bit tricksy and a little bit pissed off and all that. I enjoyed the character, but I will say this. I've got no feelings of I want to see more of her in any other capacity. The character, I mean. I didn't feel that way. I did enjoy the character, though, buddy. I must admit, I did like the way that she was a strong female presence in the film with a little bit of a devious, mischievous streak running through her. So I was okay with it. Why do you say that? You feel like you didn't enjoy her character? Because I enjoyed having.
I'm just trying to have a conversation. I'm just having a conversation.
Well, shit, you got an opinion, dude. Dig it. I'll tell you what.
I do have an opinion.
Don't like the small person in it. Keep the short.
Her
round
short round. Yeah. I liked her, and I am in agreement with you. I don't like the perspective that we would get more movies with her and what was his name? Her version of Short Round. I wrote it down. Okay. I can't remember. But what I liked about her was that she does have room to grow as a character if Kathleen Kennedy does decide to move forward with Helena as a character, right? So she is somebody who is presented as an antithesis to Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones. It belongs in a museum. She's like, no, the money belongs in my pocket, right? And so I kind of like that.
And she was, she was very Indiana Jones, right? She obviously skirts on the grey area of good and bad to get shit done, right? A bit like Han Solo as well, right? I particularly love the reference when she called him a grave robber, because that's been a joke in the community for so long, right? Well, that was Indiana Jones. It's a grave robber. He didn't need to go into those places and nick that stuff, even if it was to put it in a museum. I mean, we'll leave it where it is then. So I like the fact they referenced that, and I thought that was good because she was very much like him, but like you said, the flip side of him, right? I love the adventure. She's very smart. She cares about the stuff he's looking for, but she wants to sell it. Sure, it belongs in a museum if the museum pays me well enough for it, right? Or I'll sell it to someone else. I got it.
I like that. Why didn't you like her Short Round?
Because I have to say, I love Temple of Doom. I love all the movies. I'm a big Indy fan. But what's Kate Capshaw's name in that? I keep wanting to call her Charlie. Is it Charlie?
No,
In
it's hold on.
Temple of Doom. What's her
I would have
name?
known what it was. I would have known what it was if you didn't say it. It is a man's name.
Well, listen.
Hmm?
Well, in the movie, we're kind of made to feel. We're made to feel like she's the annoying character. But even when I first watched it, I didn't find her annoying. I found Short Round annoying, and I think, well, it's because whenever he was in it, he kept fucking
Willie
things
Scott.
up for Indy.
Willie Scott.
Thank you, Willie. That's a man's name, I suppose. So he kept fucking things up. He kept causing shit to happen, and so did she. But so as soon as
they both did.
The kid in the movie, but as soon as the kid appeared in the movie, I'm like, he's going to cause things to go wrong. He's just going to be a pain in the ass. He's going to get so when they flew to Italy to meet Antonio Banderas, who apparently was in the movie, I don't know what happened to his scenes, but he must have upset someone. But I was hoping that he wasn't on the boat. And there was even a moment where we didn't see him for a while. And then suddenly he was sitting there tying knots in the fishing net. I'm like, they should have left him in Morocco. They should have left him there. That would have been fine. It's simply because, buddy, whenever I see a kid like that in a film, they inevitably are used to create drama, create problems, and create stories.
Simpatico.
And he didn't need that.
We are of the same mind. Every time I talk about why I hate children in cinema, like this is the reason why, because they solely exist to create problems. And lo and behold, I keep wanting to say his name is Tony. It's not Tony. That he got caught and became kind of a burden in a moment. Although what I do like about that was Indy was like, he'll be fine. Right? Like he was not overly worried. He was like, And I've
seen this movie before. He'll be fine.
Yeah. I think that was really about his experience with Short Round. He's just like, it's fucking kid, he'll be fine. It's like whatever.
Yeah. And this one's a little bit more self-aware and street savvy than Short Round was, right?
Was he? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, he was smart enough to fly a plane. Although Short Round could drive a car, he was a good pickpocket, and I'm not sure we got that from Short Round. So
he was cheating at cards.
So his special skill is a cheating little shit. Yeah, I like him even less now.
Well, so they were both cheat. So one's a pickpocket, the other one like did the sleight of hand with the card. So he was like, you know. I very small, you cheat very big, because he's like pointing, and Indy's like, wait, what is that? And he finds the card in his sleeve.
Up his sleeve.
I don't know.
Yeah. Thankfully, though, he didn't play obviously we're in spoilers. Thankfully, he didn't play a huge part in the film. In fairness, did he? I mean, he was there for the final third.
Whatever.
But once he had fallen in the river, even Mads Mikkelsen said when they fell in the river, he goes, leave him. Even he didn't give a shit. Let him go.
Care.
Wherever that water's going, leave him. Don't care. In fact, at that point, they didn't need the kid anyway. In fairness, I'm surprised they didn't just push him off the river, because the kid was there to find the cave, right?
Right.
Once the kid got in the cave, he wouldn't have nowhere to go. He wouldn't have a clue how to navigate in the cave. It's not like he had a map for the cave.
The only other thing I could think of is that he is potentially leverage at that point to make them do what they want. But I think he just figured like whatever. Yeah.
Were you surprised we didn't have the Indy versus the big guy fight scene? You know, the 7 foot, 6 foot wide guy ends up just drowning. I was thinking there's going to be some fight scene. I'm glad they didn't, because for me, it added value and gravitas to the fact that Indiana Jones is a 70-year-old man in this film. So I liked the scenes where he was being easily pushed around. I liked it because it meant he wasn't a superhero. He was a 70-year-old guy. Yes, he's got some wiles and he can still pack a punch, but I like the fact that he wasn't invincible. I like
got that old man strength.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Oh, that's going to hurt later, kind of thing. My arthritis is going to play up tomorrow for that.
You just reminded me of something. His murder allegation. Did they just hand wave that away? So remember, the reason why he went after her is because they accused him of murder.
Yeah.
And there was no discussion about
New York?
Yeah.
You mean when
no discussion about that?
I think that in my head canon, during the couple of days or however long he's unconscious, that she was there admitting to doing whatever she needed to admit to.
So you're telling me she admitted to a crime and it was just sitting there when he woke up?
in my head canon that they let her get away with it because it's Indiana Jones and he saved the world a couple of times up at that point. And they were willing to, I don't know. But that was where I was going with it, that when they met her, she explained all this shit away somehow, gave evidence, pointed out, I don't know. But yeah, that's in my head canon. While he was asleep, she fixed all that.
Okay.
Or Salah fixed some of it.
Before we move on from Helena generally, one of the things that you said in Discord that I liked was you said, make more National Treasure movies, reboot Alan Quartermain, or give me Tales of the Gold Monkey, but let Indy finally have his moment and let him rest. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so, because as soon as this movie was out, and you just mentioned it, that there's a possibility of a spin-off, right? That we can have this character. And you yourself had said that in the film that shall not be named, there was a kind of like, is Mutt now going to be the young Indiana Jones? And then in this one, there was a potential of I hate to say it, but a female Indiana Jones, right? That someone of his ilk was then going to carry on adventures. And I just feel that there's other franchises out there that still have legs in them that could be played on, like National Treasure. They were great films. They made a shit ton of money and they were super enjoyable, whether or not Nick Cage goes. It just feels to me that, well, then just come up, same as the James Bond, Jonesy, right? Just make another spy that is female. Make another adventure archaeologist that's female, if that's how they're feeling. Stop flogging this old dead horse and come up with an original idea that follows Indiana Jones' spirit. So those series and the films I mentioned, they're all in the spirit of Indiana Jones. It's archaeological fun, it's adventure, it's comedy, it's action. Those things I listed could either be rebooted or brought back or done again, or just come up with something new. Let Indiana have his day. The Last Crusade for me was a perfect ending to those films. That was a perfect trilogy. Number 4 was awful for lots of reasons. At least this one was a fun enough and good enough adventure to leave Indiana. In an ideal world, I wouldn't have made this one either. Just let Last Crusade sit. So I'm glad we got this one to wash the bad taste out of my mouth from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but no more. Bring those others. Like, I mean, I wonder how many people listening to this right now or watching this right now even remember Tales of the Gold Monkey.
I don't.
But it was an episodic show.
I know the other ones.
Episodic show. Yeah, so it was set it was an episodic show based on a swashbuckling adventure kind of guy, very much taken from Indiana Jones, going on adventures to steal back treasure and items, etc., etc. And he owned a bar in the middle of the jungle somewhere, I think, and flew a seaplane. But there's something that could be fleshed out and brought back and stuff. So yeah, so short answer to your question is, buddy, it's not necessary. Come up with some other ones, some original content. I
remember this show.
You do?
Yeah.
The actor's quite famous. Yeah, I recommend people check it out because it was fun. I mean, I'm looking through my rose-tinted aging glasses, being as I'm nearly 50 now, but I remember as a kid enjoying it a lot. Every week was a different show, and there was a gold monkey sitting above the bar, hence the Tales of the Gold Monkey.
So the thing to me is,
So
I agree with you. What I like about Indiana Jones was that it was an update of stories from the 1930s, those serials that they would see. And I kind of wish, instead of dragging Indiana Jones out to make more, do what they did with Indiana Jones to give us something new, right? Look back to the past.
Yes.
And try and update something, come up with something new, something different, as opposed to just dragging him out and making more. That would be
all that
something I would like more, preferable.
Yeah.
So who knows? Are you surprised that the Disney Indiana Jones is better than the Paramount Indiana Jones?
Am I surprised? Yes, I am surprised. However, I am also pleased that they've listened to the challenges that most people have with Crystal Skull and been smart enough to take that on board. So I shouldn't be surprised, because logically that's what a sensible organization should do, right? Is to see where their failings were, where the majority of the big fans struggled, and to make amends for it. But actually, I was a little bit surprised, sure. But then again, dude, actually, I take that back now. I was surprised they themselves fucked it up such a big style with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So why would I be surprised? they were in charge of it and it was rubbish. So
Sure.
maybe I'm not surprised. Maybe it was like, well, yeah, of course they were going to do it better. They couldn't do it
question.
worse.
It's a trick question. Before we shove on, there's one thing that we haven't even. Oh, am I surprised? No. I think part of it is it's James Mangold. So if I think about, I'm of the opinion that Steven Spielberg is past his prime, has been past his prime. And so it does not surprise me that the person that made Logan churned out a better film than present day Steven Spielberg. Yeah, and given I'm of two minds about it though. Did you ever watch Fleabag, the show?
No, I'm aware of it. I haven't watched it.
I think you would like it. I think that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is an excellent writer. What I'm surprised about is that given her involvement supposedly behind the scenes on this, that it's not better. And so between her and James Mangold, I was hoping that this would be better, but I'm not surprised that given their involvement, it's not better than that it is better than Crystal Skulls. I'm not surprised.
I got you. I know we're going to move on, and if producer Carl was here, he'd be tearing his hair out about going on too long with one section. Yeah, but what I enjoyed, Jonesy, overall on the last thing for me on this one is that the action sequences and things with Indiana Jones in present day, with Harrison / Indiana Jones being old. I like the way the action was done to reflect that. They didn't make him a superhero. Things seemed to be shot. Even I got the feeling that the stunt guy they were using was cleverly directed or told to move a little bit like an older person rather than moving like a 30-year-old would when he's jumping from car to car and things like that. It's got to make it. They did a good job of making it look like it was an old man Indiana Jones performing these stunts and these action sequences. And on the action sequences, I never thought I'd enjoy a tuk-tuk race drive action sequence as much as I enjoyed this one in Morocco. I honestly really enjoyed that. It was super fun. The banter that they were having with each other, the way the action was shot and directed. And I was nervous that, like Crystal Skull, where they'd make an old Indiana Jones move like a 20-year-old and just hide his face in the action sequences. I genuinely felt that could be an older guy doing that stuff. And they didn't have him doing stuff that an older guy wouldn't do. They had him being an old Indiana Jones. And I thought that's one of the reasons why it got such a high mark for me, because I do feel that everyone involved was doing their best to do their best version of an Indiana Jones film, including stunt direction, the story, Harrison himself, the director. It's an old man on a last adventure. Let's remember that when we're shooting everything and doing everything. So whoever was responsible for that, and I'm sure it was a collective issue, is one of the reasons why I think I made it a better film for me, because it looked like everyone gave a shit. And so I'll give it a B because they gave a shit. Did they stick the landing? Maybe not, but they did a good enough job up to that point for me to give it a B.
So we haven't talked about the bad guys at all. Mads Mikkelsen, bunch of Nazis. What did you think?
I hate Nazis.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I've always been a fan. They didn't lose, or whatever the line was it? Whatever.
You didn't win. Hitler lost.
That's it. I think they did a good enough job with the bad guys in general to make them bad guys and not to like them. From when they assassinated the two teachers at the beginning, or certainly the administration lady and the teacher at the beginning, cold-heartedly just shot them down. I'm like, oh shit.
The movie generally very violent, right?
Like, holy shit, right? Exactly. Yeah. And I think so. There was a couple of comic book villains in there, and a couple of times they were played as such. But I think overall, again, I think Mads Mikkelsen played that Dr. Schmidt as well as I would have wanted a bad guy to be playing some nasty Nazi. And he was generally an arsehole, very cold with it as well, which is what I liked. It wasn't comic book chewing scenery being a villain, a Nazi villain. He was just, no, this is it. This is how I feel. I'm right. I am right. That's it. I don't give a shit about you, whoever you are. And so I did. I enjoyed the villains. I thought they did a good job. But they didn't overshadow Indiana Jones, which is, again, I think there's a credit to the writing.
I have one complaint. I think it's that, two, there was a scene where they talked about, I think he said in the beginning, too many Nazis. And I immediately thought like, yeah, I'm tired of Nazis generally in this series. And what I would have loved, and this is the bigger complaint, in the beginning, Mads is talking about, or Schmidt is talking about, how if you've got this dial, you're not a king, you're not a Führer, you're a god. And what I would have loved was if, yeah, he started out as a Nazi, but what does a god need with white supremacy? Right? Like at the point where you are beyond space and beyond time, you can still be an asshole and you can still want to be in control. But it was weird to me that his perception of who he is with this dial is a god, but your plan is to just go replace the Führer. And it's just like,
so the way in my head canon, I was thinking that he was just jumping on the bandwagon of who was going to be the most powerful people on the planet at the time. I think it was a means to an end for him. I don't know whether he bought into the whole Nazi thing more than just he had delusions of.
I think he did.
I don't.
The reason why I think he did is because when he was talking to the waiter in the beginning. So he said Hitler lost the war. You didn't win. Yeah. He also said, "Do you know who your people are?" Right. So he's talking to him, asking him that question, and then he does like this very cold not sleight of hand, but it's this backhand where he says something like, "Are you enjoying your victory?" And that is very much an acknowledgement that you, black man, fought on the front lines of this war, but you're like fucking serving me, who is a Nazi, this Diet Coke or what the fuck ever you're giving me. And so
so he still had this feeling of we won, right? He still had a fucking importance. I gotcha. Yeah.
And so
you're right. Yeah.
That's where I got that from. And so it's mildly disappointing. I think you're right. I think he did the best he could with what he had. I just wish that they had found a way to go beyond what we were seeing. So
the other bad guys just did what they had to do, right? And they did it well. But you're right, the main villain, which is Mad, so you just reminded me when you said that. I don't know how he survived that headshot at the beginning, but I'm just going to go with it because it was a high speed chain and it was a big chunk of metal and it was right on his head. Not to survive the headshot,
tiny little scar.
Yeah.
I was expecting to see like some dent or something when he showed up again. It was like this little faded fucking scar in his head. And I was like, all right, I guess.
I mean, the clang it made could hear me for like 3 miles away. So, when you see the movie, people, you'll know what we mean if you haven't already. But survive he did. These Nazis are tough bastards, Jonesy. They're hard to kill. That's why there's so many of them.
That's why they're still around today. Fucking cockroaches.
Headshots don't work. Should have gone for the neck. There you go. We just solved it.
We solved it. Should have gone
in about
for the
40 minutes. Sorry.
So, do you have any final thoughts about this film? Anything to say before we move on?
No, I apologize. I wrapped it up just before we started talking about the bad guys. Then, I just. Overall, like I said before, I won't repeat myself, but for me, it's earned the B, but it's also earned the last Indiana Jones film. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't feel the need to move off my score. I don't feel like I'm going to move off my C+.
You will when you watch it again.
I'm not going to watch it again. That's the thing. I'm not going to watch this again. I'm not going to watch it again.
Well, you mean not anytime soon? Because I am looking forward to going to see it again. I must admit, I've got friends that want to. I'm happy to watch it.
No.
Do you want to touch on some news?
Let's touch on some news. Let's touch it. So, Superman Legacy has found its stars. We've got David Cornsweet.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. The Fruit O's version of Henry Cavill. So I don't know how they do this in Dubai or in England, but here, like if you go to a store, you've got Fruit Loops on top. And then like the store brand Fruit O's or the Fruit Circle, like that's what he is. That's what he could. And Jammer has been fucking killing me in the Discord. Like he said something like, "This dude looks like Henry Cavill so much to the point where it seems like it's just petty." Right?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
And I was just crying laughing where he's just like sending this stuff up in Discord. It's fucking hilarious. Anyway, so between him and Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, I'm I think I'm excited for him because he looks like Henry Cavill. I'm more excited for her because of the Marvelous Miss Maisel. I don't know if you've seen that. It's an Amazon
I haven't.
show.
So I was gonna say to you that I'm not familiar with this young lady's work or other shows and stuff. So I'm going to defer to you on this. It's one of those situations where, you know what, I've seen the pictures, I've seen the headshots, I've seen the Hollywood headshots. I need to see them, should we say, in the role before I even imagine it, because, you know, makeup, costume, and all that stuff, it all
Sure.
kind of changes. I guess you can get some sort of idea, especially with Superman. But I think and is she playing Lois? In my ignorance, is she Lois? So
Yes.
I think Lois Lane could look like anybody, and the movies have shown that. It could be any actress, it could be of any, you know, any ilk, it doesn't matter. But Superman does seem to need a certain look. And
Henry
so
Cavill?
when I was looking at, yeah, if they look like Henry Cavill, that would probably be pretty good. So I wonder if they can find an actor that looks a bit like him, but maybe a bit younger. And
So
costs
weird.
less and is agreed to do. I know, right? So yeah, apologies, Jonesy. I'm not familiar with this young lady, so I defer to you on this.
I think she's fantastic on that show. I haven't seen all of it. I've seen probably 2/3 to a half of Marvelous Miss Maisel, and I've really enjoyed it. And she's a lot of fun in that role. So seeing her as Lois, if they allow her to bring the same kind of energy that she brought to that Amazon show, that's going to be exciting. Given I know I've seen him in We Own This City, but I don't remember him. Like, he doesn't stick out to me at all. Yeah. Given that we've seen these folks, what is it that you think James Gunn has to do now? So for all intents and purposes, The Flash has failed, right? Henry Cavill is no longer going to be Superman, and everything about the Snyderverse is gone. As a matter of fact, when James Gunn sent up this picture, I think he tweeted it. He said, #Snyderverse is dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
What do you think he has to do now that you've seen these folks? What will make this movie succeed?
You know, that's actually quite a tough question, because there seems to be, I don't want to say everyone, but there seems to be a huge amount of people that want to see it kind of fail just to try and say that the Snyderverse was the one, or Cavill was the one. So that's what I meant by that. So I think what he has to do is, for me personally, because you're asking me, I think what he'd have to do is find the balance between bringing something new, which is what I liked about Man of Steel, looking at it from not a physical perspective, the challenges that Superman has, but does he even want to be a hero for these pesky meddling humans? That kind of wrestling that he was going through. But at the same time, bring enough of the fun side of what Superman could be, the Boy Scout, the fun side of it, that Superman Returns tried to do, but failed quite dramatically. So for me, I want James Gunn to find the balance between bringing something new and not just another Krypton kills me. So bring in Lex Luthor with a kryptonite gun, and that. I'm so bored of kryptonite, but I've said it before. This is one of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of Superman as the hero, because he's so freaking invincible. It's so difficult to kill. There's only one thing. And so that makes it boring each time, which, like I said, is why I liked Man of Steel, because he came at it from a different angle. He looked at it from a different perspective. Now, just a quick question back to you, because I want you to answer that same question, Jonesy. But the movie's going to be called Superman Legacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Implying what you leave behind, the things
Possibly.
that you've done, the decisions you've made, right? Implying that potentially it's going to span a certain amount of years. So getting an actor to look like Henry Cavill, because maybe there'll be a Henry Cavill as old man Superman in the future, is not such a bad idea. I don't want that either, but maybe that's what Gunn's thinking. There's going to be the reason.
Wow.
I'm reaching, right?
Yeah, no.
Go ahead. What do you think? What do you think Gunn needs to do to make this a success?
So I'll address the first. So were you being tongue in cheek with the first thing, or the last thing you just said about legacy? Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So what do I think he has to do to be successful? It is. Superman is hard, not just for me, just because of the invincibility. I think we've seen how to deal with invincible characters well in other instances. What I think they have to do is get away from the Americana aspect of Superman, because I think a lot of people think
that he's more of a global hero and more of an Earth.
Well, I don't even know if I would say global, but let's put it another way. Superman's motto was truth, justice, and the American way for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it was only in 2021 when they changed that. They changed it to truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. And when you hear American politicians talk about the promise of America, they talk about this idea, an ideal that we've never lived up to. And so when I think about what you have to do with a Superman, you have to try to find a way to live in there. And that's, I think, hard, because what is it that you want this hero to do? So you talk about him being a global hero. I think when Christopher Reeve made Superman, it's okay for him to exist mostly in America or wherever. When you have a being that powerful in today's society, with the internet being what it was and social media being what it was, there's an expectation for who they are and what they do. And that's going to be hard. And I don't know how they're going to do that. And so I think that they do have to find a way to address that. Like, what does it mean? Truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. And I think if they can find a way to incorporate that, it will allow them to update who that character is. Because I look at a character like Captain America. I think before the MCU, I think we would be having the same conversation about him. Like, he's a Boy Scout, he's boring, and I don't know how we're going to update this character. But I think the Russo brothers and Chris Evans were able to find a way to mold the stories around this character. And what, again, going back to Civil War, right? It's the idea of you root your feet in the ground. You don't move, you move. And so mold these stories around this character that is a Boy Scout who is seeking truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. And I think, at least for me, that would make it a successful film. Also, I want to see what that suit looks like. And I am someone who is just like you know what I'm going to say next. Hans Zimmer and his score for Man of Steel just fucking killed it. And so that song better be fucking fire, because I lived with Man of Steel for such a short amount of time as being the theme for Superman, that if what you give me next isn't good, I'm just going to be fucking pissed. So
I got you. No, 100%. Everything you were saying is true. So it's just bringing Superman to make him a bit more relevant. Although that sounds corny and cheesy, because that's always the way, right? And make it relevant for today. But they do need to do that. So but you know what? I've loved pretty much everything that James Gunn has done since Guardians of the Galaxy. So, you know, I don't want to use that whole thing that we used to say about Mr. Feige, because that's certainly wavering at the moment. But James Gunn so far has not done anything to make me think that he'll mess this up. So go with it. Just quickly on the suit, the Jonesy. So we know that Flash is a failure, for want of a better word. The suit that Supergirl is wearing, are we saying that would be? Are we just going to forget everything that's in the Flash? Because I was just thinking that the suit potentially would be similar to hers, right? If it was the same one, or we just completely, because again, timeline shit.
I am.
Or is he just completely clean slate? It's going to be a whole new
So
suit.
Here's the thing. Given what James Gunn said about the Snyderverse being dead, I am confused about something I think I read relatively recently after The Flash came out, and it said that Sasha Calle had been in conversation, or had a conversation with Warner Brothers about reprising her role. I don't know if that was contingent on The Flash doing well or anything like that, or where she would exist in, what timeline, if they were going to do that. So I don't know.
Because what did you think of the suit? Just on that, which is why I asked.
Oh, I loved it.
What did you think of her?
Did we talk about it? I thought we talked about it. Yeah, I loved her suit.
Me too. So I was kind of hoping when you mentioned the suit for Superman that, well, if they get that same kind of suit, because theoretically they came from the same time, they're in two different pods, right? That they would have the same suit-ish. So
I'm willing to bet that James Gunn will want to move as far away from that as possible.
And fair enough. And so we should, and why not? Let's do it. But okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm really curious. I wish I had thought of this beforehand. I would have gone back and looked, and like, if I had to pick an existing Superman suit, what would it look like? And the thing is, though, even if I had done that in 2012, right before Henry Cavill's came out, I wouldn't have picked one that looked like his, because they made something that was completely different. So yeah, again, if they're able to go back in and do something like that, that would be impressive.
Yep. And like I said, that's when I think I'll have more of an input on the question of what do you think of these guys? Like, what's the suit? What does it look like? Show me some scenes, the score. So, already got a couple of years before we see it, likely, especially with
2025.
Yep, so 2 years. Okay. Well, hopefully I'll be in my 50s when this film comes out. Oh my God!
You can play Kingdom Come Superman. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, so I think this show is definitely an Indiana Jones dedicated show from a couple of fans. So why not?
All right, we'll shut it down. So, dear listener, if you like what you heard, do all the socials, like, rate, comment, subscribe. We would certainly appreciate it. Also, jump on the Discord. If you have seen Indiana Jones and you agree or disagree with anything we said, get on there. Let us know. Tell me I'm wrong. I love to hear it. I'd also like to know what you all think. Like, pick an existing Superman suit and see if you could pick which one. I'm really curious what you guys are loving out there. But other than that, we'll catch you on the next one. Hasta lasagna.